If you are an artist or a maker or have a crafty hobby that you've been wanting to turn into a business, I guess I'm just here to tell you that you absolutely can, and all it takes is just starting. I mean, opening night of the art show that my Yampa Beanie and Cowl are at, so I'm trying to get my act together to get there, but I'm excited to see it. Yay! How cool to see your piece in a show. Yay! I mean, I still pinch myself every day that this is what I do for a living. I can't even tell you how amazed I am that this is my life now, and I feel so grateful that all of the things that happened that led me here happened. And I mean, I just had my knit pieces shown at this art show. I had so many fraudy feelings about it, so much imposter syndrome, and I think a big part of that is just because I still can't believe that this is what I do. Like, I make knit beanies and sell my hats. I go outside and share my adventures, and it's like your support and you even just being here is a huge part of this. There were a few major moments in my life that kind of created these mindset shifts that led me to this point. In my last video, I kind of share the step-by-step journey of taking my hobby to a business, but I didn't really talk about these big changes that happened that kind of threw me in this direction. So today I thought I'd share a little bit of that story and the things that brought me here. And I have a secret that I've been keeping from you that I will reveal at the end of this video. It'll make a lot of sense once I share some of these stories. So back in 2016, I was in a freak ski accident that basically cut my arm down to the bone. My arm got hit by a ski and severed 6 of my extensor tendons. I ended up having 2 surgeries. I could not use my hand at all, my right hand. I couldn't open my hand, and to this day, my thumb still doesn't behave correctly. And at the time, I was working as a chef in a restaurant. I hardly ever had 2 days off. I usually just had the 1 day if I had time off. And I was working a ton for very little pay. And at the time, you know, that was my career path. Like, I was so passionate about cooking. I loved the restaurant industry, and I thought that's what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. When I got in the accident, it was the first time that I wasn't able to work to the degree that I had been working in years. So it really was like a step back that I was forced to take, and I kind of realized, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm putting all of my energy into this work, not making a lot of money, driven by passion, and at a certain point that can only take you so far. So getting in the accident really rattled that cage, and it made me question what I was doing and like what I wanted from life. And I live in a really amazing mountain town here in Colorado, and one of the things that everyone really loves living here for is getting outside and doing outdoor activities. And those were the reasons that I moved here to begin with. And I wasn't doing much of any of those things. Like, I moved here to be a ski bum and to go hiking and camping and hang out with my friends and go to concerts, spend time with my husband. And I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And so after I got in the accident, it kind of was the seed that was planted and making me question what I was doing. And so it took a couple of years. Like, that accident happened, and I continued working in restaurants for 2 years after that. And I finally got to the point of really, really, really intense burnout, and I lost that spark for cooking, which really scared me. Like, that was my identity. Like, being a chef was my identity. Cooking was what I did. And so when I lost that spark for cooking, I was so scared and I didn't really know what to do. So I ended up quitting my restaurant job to work on a farm, and that was kind of where knitting came in. And when I quit my job, it kind of gave me a spark again. Like, I had the time to pursue these other interests and to grow this hobby. It was really exciting and another way to feel creativity. And a big part of this was I just followed these passions and I let it take me where it would lead. I think that is one of the biggest tips, is follow that passion and just let it lead you to where it needs to go. Like, I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know if this means anything to you, but basically I am multi-passionate and I have a lot of interests. And if you ask me what I'm doing 5 years from now, like what is my 5-year plan? I don't know, but I know that what I'm gonna do is follow what feels good and let it take me. Moved over here so I could do a little bit of knitting, but the lighting's not as good, so hopefully, and Arya's here now. I'm being kind of needy, but we'll make it work. So the next major sliding door moment that happened for me in both life and biz, as you may have guessed, happened in 2020. There were maybe 3 major things that happened during this time period that really moved my business in the direction that it is now. And the first was really going full-time. At this point, I had been at the farm for 2 years after I left the restaurant, and I had been growing my side hustles, and I got to the point where I was like, if I put in all of my time and energy to my business, what would happen? And so I actually put in my 2 weeks notice. My last day of work was supposed to be March 18th, 2020, and as you know, the world shut down and everything kind of went online, which to me actually was a big benefit for my business. It was an online biz. Everyone was shopping online and kind of got into this phase of people wanting to support small businesses, support makers, artists, and people had more disposable income. So I think that really helped with my revenue during this time. You know, I kind of got in the groove of running this business and setting up all of my systems and knowing how to do things. And the second big part of this was the maker community on Instagram. I think we were all looking for a lot of connection, and maker life, self-employed life, artist life can be really lonely, but I found a really amazing group of other makers and fellow knitters, and there was a small group of us that would even get together and have monthly Zoom chats, and it really made things a lot less lonely. And there's so much importance, I think, in community building and collaboration, and being online and on Instagram, for better or for worse, really helped with that. I don't think it would have happened other than having everything shut down, because as people have seen now, things are opening up, people want to be outside, which is great, but during this time, that really helped with my business's growth. And in addition to that, I met a lot of makers because, you know, I started this Instagram live series where I would interview other makers in different niches about how they started their business. And then, you know, it kind of just grew into this community, which I, to this day, really treasure and cherish and hope to grow more of. The last couple years, I haven't put as much effort into that aspect of things, but that is something I really want to start doing more of. And I think one of the biggest things was actually starting to really dig deep into a lot of self-reflection about my values and how I wanted to portray this in business. We've been told you don't mix politics with business, and I think we all saw that it started to really shift. Now, people really wanted to know how their dollars were being spent and who they were supporting when they were spending those dollars. It was very uncomfortable at first, but I really started digging deep on how I could present my values and incorporate them into my business. And I'd always really wanted to incorporate giving back into mine. Even from the time it was a side hustle, I was donating a portion of all of my sales to environmental nonprofits. But then it became even bigger, where I was like, oh my gosh, now I would love to talk about supporting LGBTQ rights and women's rights and racial equality and inclusivity in the outdoors and all of that stuff. So slowly but surely, I was able to figure out what those pillars were for my business and then how to incorporate that. And I'm still working on improving that every day, and I'm learning and unlearning a lot. And it's a journey like anything, right? If you are a maker or an artist, your values and how you live your life and how you present yourself is directly correlated with your business, or at least I think so. I mean, there's so many other, for example, knitters out there that use this same yarn that might even knit with the same patterns, or I sell knitting patterns as well, so maybe they're even using my same patterns. And what differentiates your business from theirs? And it's who you are as a person and what you believe in. I try to be very explicit about the types of organizations that I donate to and how I feel about certain things. That has just become a huge part of business in this world, I think, today, and a part of my business that I hope comes through. All right, it is a beautiful day outside and I've been inside all day. I'm gonna go meet up with a friend for some lunch, and then I will tell you the last major shift that happened to me since I started this business and reveal that little secret I've been keeping. Wow, so my battery just died, and of course I did not bring the extra batteries out and about, so I'm home now. This next sliding door moment for me, and really it was more of a year, happened in 2021. In 2021, I had been in business full-time for over a year. I was grooving, I was really succeeding and growing, and everything was just going so well. And in the middle of the summer, lost my grandpa. And he was the person that I looked up to the most. He was my hero, and his loss was the biggest grief I've ever experienced in my life. I had lost a lot of people before that, but I had never felt a grief like this. I was incapacitated, like I could not function. I couldn't do anything. And so I just let myself rest. My business was put on autopilot. I wasn't sharing anything. I wasn't making much. I couldn't even bring myself to knit. That was the start of a really hard period. I had to travel home to see him. I luckily got home in time, last minute flight home to see him, and then he passed away. Still hard to talk about. And luckily I made it home to see him in time, and then he passed away, and then I went back for the funeral. And so this was just all a month of traveling and, just sitting in that grief. And then in November, just a few months later, I got the call that my other grandpa wasn't doing well. And this was the grandpa that I lived with from the time I was 6 until the time I was 12. So I flew home, saw him, came back, and he also passed away. And this was November. Usually that's the start of my busiest season of the whole year. I just couldn't really bring myself to do much. And around this time, I started getting these really weird symptoms. This was going right into the busy holiday season, and I was struggling with grief still and these health issues. And in January, they diagnosed me with an autoimmune condition that affects my liver. So that was a huge life change. Never Google your health problems. On Google, the health condition that they diagnosed me with was like, if you don't manage this, you could have 5 to 10 years to live. And I was like, okay, like that is insane. So of course I was managing it, and I had just been through a lot of stuff. And so I was just like, 2022, this is the year that I'm going to take care of myself. And then in April, our friend died in a canyoneering accident, and I was once again thrown into this extremely deep state of grief. Like, this friend I looked up to like an older brother, and this was also one of my husband's best friends. So we were once again thrown into this period of grief, and it felt like too much on top of all the stuff that had happened. And so I really went into this figurative winter in the time of my life and my business. I really had to figure out what my priorities were. And I know in business, a lot of success is measured by growth and hitting financial milestones and that kind of thing. But it really made me question what I actually wanted. And I think this is the biggest thing when starting a business or running a business, especially if you are a solopreneur. It is, what is your ultimate goal? And what is your why behind having this business? And for me, after digging deep, I realized that my why was freedom and time. Of course, there are certain things that you still have to do, like make enough money to have that freedom and time. But ultimately, I did not want to sacrifice freedom and time for the sake of growth. People are always like, are you going to hire people to help you knit? Are you going to hire so-and-so? And I think for me, especially as the maker and artist, I don't want to necessarily make more. I feel like I have a good capacity for the number of hats I produce every year. But what I could focus on was hiring people to do the task that I didn't have to do, adding streams of income. So at the start of 2023, my word was renew. And for me, 2021 and 2022 were super hard. And so I kind of wanted to shake out of that. 2023 also marked 7 years since that ski accident and 5 years of having the business. And so it felt like time to really shake things up. And Meanie Beanie Knits started as the side hustle and became my full-time business. And I feel like in the last 5 years, I have really gotten comfortable with who I am and how I want to represent the business. And I'm not super witchy woo-woo, but we were pulling some tarot cards, and the tarot card I pulled talked about how I would be in this period of transition where I am shedding an old part of myself, but I am still me, and this next layer was going to be a bigger and better version of myself. And it felt so good, and I decided to change the name. I hired a brand designer to help me totally revamp my logos and colors and my brand kit and everything. And my idea behind all of this is I am doing a little rebrand. I'm changing my business name, and I'm really excited to share. I had gone back and forth about doing this for over a year, I think. And I had these notes in my phone with all these different name ideas, but nothing really fit. And this winter, when I was skiing, actually, I was hiking into a backcountry hut trip, and I was just in my head, and the name popped into my head, and it felt so good. Smini Made Wild. I am very excited to show you all of the new things that are going to come from that. I feel like I'm much more in tune with myself now and the direction I want to take the business in. A lot of things are staying the same, like the knits are not going anywhere. That is still the main focus of my business. I will still be selling knitting patterns, but I think this rebrand will give me more room to expand into other things, like creating this inclusive outdoors and really helping people get outside has become really important to me. I want to focus more on that side of things and sharing more of this outdoorsy aspect more than just from a lifestyle standpoint, but with tips and tricks and resources. The maker community, like I had mentioned before, has always been super important to me, and I feel like I haven't put a lot of energy into that lately, but I want to create more maker resources and things like that. And then incorporate other goods into my shop. And you've probably noticed this if you've been around for a while, but goods that align with an outdoorsy adventure lifestyle that I don't necessarily make, but that I truly love and want to bring to you as well. Again, following creativity and fueling those creative passions. YouTube, for example, is one of them, and I want to put some more energy into making this channel awesome and producing better vlogs and really sharing my business journey with you so that you can be part of it too. And if you're a maker, maybe it'll help make you feel less alone, or maybe you'll learn something about it if you're just starting out. But yeah, so I wanted to tell you now, the rebrand will roll out pretty slowly, but I wanted to share it now because then I can start incorporating these elements. I will be vlogging about it soon. I've been really bad about getting footage on it because it's a lot of computer work, but there's a lot that is going to be new and exciting and different, and I can't wait to share more with you soon.